Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Chachava Plays Minecraft. I hope you're all doing well. We are here at episode 3, and I've been doing a bit of work since the last episode. I've done quite a bit of exploring, mainly the ocean, which is actually a lot bigger than I thought it was originally. I found Mushroom Island, which is quite nice, over there. I also found, I think it was 11 ocean monuments throughout this ocean, so yeah, it's going to be fun taking those over. Yeah, I'm recording this video on the day I upload episode 2, so I won't have seen any comments from that yet, but there were a couple of comments on the first episode. The first of which was regarding the GUI size. It's apparently looks very, very small on mobile devices, so I'm going to try and make it a little bit bigger for you. Let's see. So there's the large version, which isn't too bad actually. It's I prefer to keep it smaller so it doesn't kind of take over the screen, but I also want you guys to be able to see it. So we either have this one, or I believe the auto one makes it even bigger. There is that size, which is a little bit big for my liking, so I would prefer not to use that. But if it's better for you guys like that, then I will leave it on that version. For now, though, I think I'm going to keep it on the large one. Let me know if it is still too small like this. The other comment I got was regarding the nether sections of the video, which were apparently very, very dark, and on watching the video back I definitely see what they mean. They are a little bit too dark, so I've played around a little bit, tried to make a compromise on that. I didn't want to make it too bright because I kind of feel it loses the feeling of the nether, but I do want you guys to be able to see it. So let's take a quick look in the nether actually to see what it's like. But yeah, I wanted to try and avoid raising the gamma levels high because, like I say, I feel like it loses a bit of the feeling of the nether. But yeah, this is what it's like with the gamma settings as they are. Hopefully this will be better than it was before, at least. So again, if not, let me know, and I'll keep playing around with settings and see what I can figure out. But yes, oh, one last thing I did do was create a couple of ender chests. Not got anything in them at the moment, but they're incredibly useful when you go out mining. But yeah, today's episode, I've got some plans for today. First of all, I want to improve my my crop farms. So they're looking a little bit sorry at the moment. They work, but they're not particularly pretty. So I want to make those a little bit better. I also want to do a little bit of testing to try out a few things. One of which being that I've always heard it said that the crops grow faster when they're in rows rather than just in kind of clumps of one single crop. And it's something I've never actually tested out before. I don't understand why that would be, but I'd be interested to find out. So that's one thing I want to do. But I also want to kind of extend this area out with a little wooden platform to hold the crops. I don't want to spend too long doing that today, though, because I also want to make a start on my first big project in this series, which is what we were looking for the swamp for, and I have found an absolutely perfect place for it. So we're going to be making a bit of a start on that today. So yeah, for now I'm just going to go and grab a few resources from down in the storage room, and we'll make a start on building this out. Okay, I'm back. I have got a bunch of resources together. Now I'm going to take a slightly different approach to building this time, as last episode it was a little bit difficult for me. So this time around I have created something in creative mode to start with. It's not something I normally do. I've also put down a kind of base of where I want to work. These are going to be the two 9x9 areas where the crops are planted, and then we'll have walkways around the outside and a little bit of a roofed area over the top, which should look quite nice. So what I'm actually going to do this time around, rather than doing a time lapse, is I'm going to do little progress updates through the different sections and build a little bit of on camera, then fill in the rest, and then jump back again, and just see if that works any better than last time around. So let's grab a few bits and pieces that we are going to need, and we will get started with the walkway around the edge to begin with, I think. So it's going to start with kind of an oak border, as I think it's something that works really well. Let's just go down that far, and then upside down slabs along here, like so, and then this will follow down here as well. I apparently can't place blocks very well today. It's always a good start. Okay, so it's keeping it simple like that. There we go. And then on the inside, around the corners, we are going to have these in here, and then a raised slab there. And then if we go 3 down to there, that should put us in the center. And then the same on this side. Nope, that's wrong. Okay. And then just to add a little bit of a kind of a lead up to these, I think we're going to have stairs like that and like that, and that's going to be the same all the way around except for this central platform. The central platform between these is going to be upper half slabs like that. Actually, one thing I would like to try, which could be quite nice, if we remove these central stairs here, get rid of that, and grab a bit of the glowstone, and maybe try that underneath there. You're not going to be able to see it now, but that should give the kind of phantom lighting through the stairs, which I think at night will look quite nice. Let's just try that there. Okay, and that's basically what the walkway is going to be like around the outside. I'll fill the rest of that in and be back with you in a moment. Okay, so all the walkways are in around the edge. I am going to need to move that sugarcane farm, but that's perfectly okay. Now, we do need a little bit of added interest around the edge of here, as it's a little bit boring at the moment. So what I'm going to do is just make a simple pattern using these spruce woods, fence posts and fence gates, and have leaves in the center of them. It just adds a little bit of interest to the build, and a little bit of color with the green as well, so it's not all brown. Now at the edges here, the corners rather, I'm going to make some similar kind of glowstone lamps to those, where if I can get it there, have that there, and then have the trapdoors around the outside of it. Okay, let's have a look, see how that looks. Once we get all of these in, and there we go. Okay, so yeah, that's the idea for around the edge. It's fairly simple, and it still allows you to look out over the ocean. I think actually while I'm here, I'm going to add another of those lamps at this end, and if I can actually get the right things in my hotbar. That was a failure. Okay. And eventually I'd like to have these kind of lamps or something similar to them across the whole island, so I don't have to rely on torches, because they can look kind of ugly. And that on top of there. So that's the plan for that. So I will get that filled in around the edge, and then I can start working on the actual central area. Okay. Okay, the barriers around the edge are complete. Now we just need to work on the central area here, and a little kind of building or structure to go around these and make them look a little bit nicer. So what we're going to do, we're going to once again use the spruce fence posts, if I can get that on there, and these need to be a little bit higher. Okay, and then we've kind of taper them in like this, and for a bit of variety, that's not variety, that's another fence post, we stick a fence gate in there, which makes it look a little bit like that, adds a little bit of interest to it. And let's just do one more over here, and then we can look at what we're going to do with the roof of this thing. Okay, and fence, doesn't want me to place the fence gate there apparently. There we go. Acrobatic building. Okay, so those will be like that around the edge of here, and then for the roof it's going to be fairly simple. It's going to go back to the oak wood slabs again along here, and then moving up a layer like that. Okay, and then the roof will be pretty much flat. I'm going to have lights coming down into the kind of above the centre of each of the farming areas, and one through the central across the central walkway there, just to give it enough light to stop mobs spawning. I will fill those in afterwards though. Okay, and then if we also, let's try adding a few leaves up here, and then I'll probably scatter, say, a few of them around on the roof and possibly hanging down to the sides, something like that around the outside. It gives it a nice kind of gardeny feel, which I quite like. And yeah, so I'll fill in the rest of the roof, and I'll probably fill the lights in while I do that and the rest of this. So hopefully when I come back, this should all be complete and looking nice. Alright, it is pretty much complete. I did bring the fence round along the front here as well, and added a little archway at the centre. And these are the lights I was talking about. I added the spruce around the outside just to give it a bit of variation from the oak wood in the roof. I'd possibly like to add some kind of design into this roof, because it is a little bit flat and boring at the moment, but it's not too bad. So yeah, anyway, what I'd like to do now is test out what I mentioned earlier about whether or not crops will grow faster if they are in rows or in kind of clumps. So what I'll do, I'll plant these down. On one side I will have them kind of a section like this, say with, nope, we don't want to eat the carrot, section like this, or 4 sections like this, one with carrots, one with beetroot, one with wheat, and one with potatoes. And then on the other side have them in rows. And then what I'm going to do is kind of leave it for kind of 20 minutes, half an hour, and then come back and see whether there's any difference in the growth rates between the two different methods. So I'll finish planting these down, and I'll be back with you in a few seconds. Okay, it's been around about half an hour now. I'm inside my little dirt hut I made, just in case anything did spawn. And let's go and have a look. It definitely looks like the rows have been growing faster, although these ones down the edge don't seem to have done for some reason. But yeah, quite a few of these are fully grown, especially the beetroot by the looks of it. But over here, barely anything's grown at all. So yeah, it definitely looks like the rose works better. So I think that's something I'm going to have to do in the future. But yeah, actually looking at it, the beetroot seems to have grown more on this side as well. So I don't know whether beetroot in general grows faster. But yeah, in conclusion though, it does seem to matter whether you place it in rows or in blocks of the same crop. But yeah, that's enough of the crops and farming for today. I've already spent a little bit longer than I intended to on this today. So what I'm going to go and do now is I am going to head over to the location of our first major project in this series. I'm really anxious to get started as well, so I'll be back with you in a second. Okay, I have just headed through my nether tunnel to the project portal, and it appears we have an escapee from the local area. Not sure where he's trying to get to, but yeah, this is not the place for you, sheep. Anyway, if you remember from last episode, I said I was looking for a swamp biome. I did manage to find one, or 2 or 3 to be exact, but this was by far the best. It's a pretty huge area. This is pretty much right on the edge of it, and it spans out all the way across there. If you have a look over here, I did create a bit of an overview map of the area. So we are here, and it spans out all the way across here. There is a witch hut there as well, which I don't think I'm going to use for a witch farm. I'm not decided for certain yet. But yeah, what I've decided I want to do for this area is basically create a bayou. Now, a bayou is pretty much a swamp anyway. It's basically, I think it's described on the wiki as it's like a wetland area with kind of slow-moving streams and poorly defined shorelines, and that would kind of work out pretty much perfectly with the swampland. So that's what we're going to try and do. The plan is going to be to kind of have one fairly large central mass of land. Whoops, that wasn't meant to happen. Let's try that again. Okay, we'll have one kind of central mass of land, say probably around here. Maybe cut it off kind of about there, and then have waterways kind of leading out of it with heavily overgrown islands, fairly large ones to begin with, and then as it kind of reaches out towards the edge, have them a little bit smaller and maybe kind of petering out to just little bits and pieces here and there. And then there's going to be kind of a lot of custom trees, and a lot of pretty much the entire area is going to need to be terraformed. But on top of just the building, I also want to add a little bit more life to it, so to speak, and I want to treat each of the projects I work on in this series as a kind of as a separate community of people, as though a community of people who kind of live in that area, and give them a backstory and kind of lore aspects and all that kind of thing. So I always find that if you have a story behind something, it's easier to to pick out and create little details for it. And I always find that it's the details which really make something come to life. So that's what I want to try and do. I'm unfortunately not the best storyteller in the world. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle at first, and I may need a little bit of help from you guys to come up with something. But for this first project, I'm kind of going to steal a kind of story from one of my favourite TV shows of recent years, The Originals. It's kind of a spin-off with a slightly more adult-themed spin-off of The Vampire Diaries. Now, given my age, I probably should have grown out of things like vampires and werewolves and all those kind of things, but I really haven't. The mythology behind it is fascinating to me, and I'd like to incorporate part of that into this, because with the originals, one of the plot lines in the first season was there is a pack of werewolves that have been cursed. They've been cursed, so they only turn into humans on a full moon rather than the opposite way, and they're basically confined to this bayou area, and they've got this kind of little wooden shack like homes that they live in, and basically steer clear of pretty much everybody. And I'd like to incorporate something like that into this. Actually, come to think of it, I've got a few reference pictures I downloaded of bayous, which I'll try and put onto the screen now to give you some idea of the kind of thing I would like to do. And if I'm hoping there's actually no copyright issues with putting other people's images on YouTube videos, because I really don't want any copyright issues. But yeah, if the images have been up there, you look at you've got a lot of kind of trees growing out of directly out of the water. There's very kind of muddy and murky shorelines, and you've also got a lot of kind of leaf-like things on the around the edges of the water, which is something I'd like to try and work on, but I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet. But that's kind of the look and the feel I'm going for. It's going to be very overgrown. There's going to be paths winding its way through. There's going to be overhanging trees over the waterways, and all that kind of thing. If it's anything like it looks, I've lost my words again. If it's anything like the idea I have in my head, I think it's going to look fantastic. I'm not sure how much time I have now, but I'm going to gather a few resources and try and come up with a few ideas just for the edges. These are just going to be temporary things, just to try out ideas, and so you have a bit of an idea of the kind of thing I'm looking at doing. So I'll be back with you in a moment. Okay, so building didn't quite go according to plan. I had several creeper explosions. It was taking longer than I thought, but I've got a few of the ideas just kind of cobbled together in one small area. So if you remember from the pictures, there was kind of a lot of kind of leaves and greenery on the edges of the land masses, and that's what I've tried to do here using leaves. It doesn't work too badly, actually. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I'm not sure if there are any better leaves to use than the spruce ones which I have here. I don't think so. But then as you come further in, you've got the trodden dirt at the edges here, which kind of looks a little bit like you'd expect a riverbank to look. I could really do with some podzol to make this look even better, but with no mega tiger biome yet, I'm having to work with without it. But yeah, if you can imagine how that would look with the kind of really wet, muddy kind of look, it would look fantastic towards the edges here. And then you've also got kind of just a very, very quick rather awful looking custom trees here and here, just to give kind of a little bit of depth to it. I think the ferns work really well in this kind of setting, and then the odd little rocks popping out here and there, and bushes. I've just fallen in the water. But yeah, as you move further in from the water, you'd get this more of the grass and more of the coarse dirt as the land gets a little bit drier. But yeah, the idea with the majority of this is it's going to be kind of difficult to kind of traverse your way around. You're not meant to be able to just walk through the whole thing, but there will be pathways going through, which I'm going to find some way of lighting up. And then here you've also got kind of the vines coming down. They've not had a chance to really grow too much yet, but the vines will be hanging down, making it look a little bit more like the oak trees from the kind of the generic oak trees. But the main problem I have with those is that they're too straight. There's very little variation to them, and the leaves are a little bit boring. So hopefully we'll be able to change all that. From trying this out though, it has pointed out a few things that I really need to find. A skeleton spawner is one of them, because I think I'm going to be using a whole lot of bone meal throughout this. For either growing the ferns or just basically getting tall grass into areas. So that's one thing I really need to find before the next episode. The other one, of course, is... I've fallen in the water again. The other one, of course, is a mega tiger biome, because Podzol is pretty much going to be a necessity for this. The other thing is, I think it's going to be a much bigger project than I had originally anticipated. I knew it was going to be quite big, but it's going to take a lot more work than I thought. So I'm thinking what I might do with it is basically tear the majority of this down, and then just mark out where I want the land masses to be, and just pretty much build it up from scratch from there. That's one way I'm thinking of doing it. That's going to take a lot of work, but I think it might be worth it. I'm definitely going to have to flatten a lot of this land, because I don't want there to be a huge amount of hills and kind of mounds like this aside from on the main landmass. Of course, the main landmass is going to be where the majority of the buildings are. There are going to be little outlying shacks and things, maybe looking a little bit more run down than the others, and all that kind of thing. I've got so many ideas going around in my head at the moment, which I want to try out. But that's going to have to be in another episode, I think, as it's getting a little bit long now. This episode is. Hopefully this gives you some idea of what I have planned for the entire area. Obviously I haven't worked on any kind of structures or anything like that with this, but that's something I will work on soon. But yeah, for now I think I'm going to wrap this episode up. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've had a lot of fun recording this one. It's been kind of stressful with all the building. I'm still very nervous doing that, but I'm getting better, I think. I hope. But anyway, until the next episodes, farewell.